Hello, good morning everybody. Thank you for coming out. My name is Travis. I'm the marketing coordinator for GP Roadway Solutions, and today we're going to be talking to you guys about parking lot do's and don'ts, maintenance, safety, and building signage. So our speakers today are going to be Scott Lai of GP Maintenance Solutions and Patty Matsushige of GP Roadway Solutions. So Scott's going to talk to you guys about the parking lot maintenance and safety part, and Patty will talk to you guys about building signage, and then after that we'll field any questions you guys have. So with that, Scott's going to take over.
Okay, thank you, Travis. Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Lai. I'm with GP Maintenance Solutions, Business Development Agent. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, prior to coming to GP Roadway, GP Maintenance, I worked for about 7 to 8 years in the field of property management, different forms, leasing, association management. And after 7 or 8 years, as I say, only the strong survive. And so I decided to get into the national field of sales. So, just start off with some stats. According to a recent study by the HTSA, 1 out of every 5 car accidents occurs in garages or parking lots. And each year, there are more than 9,000 pedestrians who are injured or killed in parking lots and garages. Let's get into some of the issues that you may face in your facility. Start with trip hazards. As you can see, this is a pothole. Potholes is something that's I'm really passionate about. If there's anything that I can impress upon you today, is the importance of addressing potholes properly. Here you can see a pothole that's very large, and judging by what's going on here, it'll get even bigger really quickly. So the trip hazards should be addressed as soon as possible. And actually, I'm going to amend this slide. Slip trip hazards should be dealt with immediately. So I'm going to actually, here you have, identified you have a pothole, and here's a pothole that has been repaired. Now, as you address the issues that you have with your potholes, there are several things that you need to do once you've identified that you can have a problem. You need to identify a material that will allow you to repair the pothole properly. When selecting the material, you need to select a material that is, number 1, easy to work with, and number 2, it'll set up very quickly, cure rapidly. If you've got a pothole on your property, chances are you're going to send your crew out, your maintenance staff out there to repair it. And they're going to be standing in the travel lanes. You need that material to be easy to work with so that they can install the material quickly, compact it, and get out of the way, get them out of harm's way. You want the material to set up quickly so that you can allow traffic to go over the repair pothole immediately. Here we have another form of a trip hazard. You've got sidewalks from 2 areas coming together and forming a transition with different grades. Here, the property manager did a great job of identifying the trip hazard, and they took steps to put some basically painted identifiable black field to show that there's a hazard. So they identified the hazard, which was great. It's awesome. What you've got to do. Now, as it turned out, I made another site visit to this property for an unrelated reason. And as we were walking the property, making our way through the parking lot, the property manager and I are talking stories, pointing out some of the issues that we got going on. And it was like, Scott, this is what I want to do. Do you have any recommendations for this area? And next thing you know, splat. He tripped over this transition right here, face first into the pavement. So soon after, they installed it. So a lot of times it's great that you identify the hazard, but sometimes you need to take corrective measures to eliminate the hazard. Here we have a parking lot that has a steel grating for the box drains, the storm drains. that's been damaged just through wear and tear over time. The traffic that's come over. This is taken this picture was taken at a local shopping center. And unfortunately, they didn't catch this in time. And right now there's a personal injury claim, a customer to the facility, that unfortunately tripped and fell. Now, if you've got cracks in your pavement, you need to address them again, immediately. Now, a lot of you may be asking, well, Scott, I see a lot of cracks. Cracks are like, this big, who's gonna trip over? And I can't 100% disagree with you. But the thing about cracks, especially in asphalt pavement, is if you leave them untreated, eventually there's going to be water getting into it. And that will cause a faster deterioration of the pavement, which will lead to eventually problems. So it's best to address the problem before it develops to that point. Okay, a lot of things that we're seeing in parking lots are tree roots that are popping up through the asphalt. Obviously, this is a trip hazard, and it's one of the hardest trip hazards to address. If you've got a situation like this, a lot of times it takes up almost half to 2/3 of your parking stall. And rather than parking is at such a premium, rather than coning off the area and making the stall inaccessible to any vehicles, management tends to leave it open. So if you've got a situation like this, the thing that I would recommend is you hire a contractor, have them open up the pavement, and then once the pavement is opened up, have an arborist on hand so that they can make a recommendation on which routes you can safely cut and remove. Without the arborist, you run the risk of cutting the wrong route, which could lead to not only the tree dying, but it could possibly, at some point, topple and cause further injury. Pedestrian safety. This is another big challenge that facilities have. How to create pathways so that your pedestrians can safely navigate from their cars to the building and vice versa. Okay, here you have an example of a pedestrian warning sign. As the vehicle exits the building, this particular system has a sensor. Once it detects the car coming out of the driveway, the LED lights will start blinking, and also it has an audible alert. So it's a visual and audible warning to the pedestrians to let them know that the vehicle is approaching. This particular facility also, they just happen to put a convex mirror there. So that allows hopefully the driver the ability to see around the blind spots so they can see the pedestrians are about to cross this path. One of the things that's really simple that you can do in your facility to ensure safe passageways for your pedestrians is to just keep your pavement markings fresh and updated. Here you see a particular crosswalk that hasn't been paid particularly good attention to. The stop bar here is faded out. Here you've got basically 2 generations of the word stop. So just keep your things updated, keep it refreshed. If you need to, put into your budget to have it done every year, every 2 years. It doesn't cost a lot for the benefit that it provides. Especially event management. A lot of times during the holidays, especially shopping centers, they'll have special events, trolley rides, food trucks, things of that nature. Events like these cause a lot of distractions, not only for drivers, but for the people who are attending the events. And in times like those, it's just good practice to bring in some crowd control barriers. As people get distracted, you want to prevent them from actually wandering into the path of oncoming traffic. Because a lot of these events, the most logical place for them to be held are actually in the parking lot, because that's the most wide open space available in the facility. Reducing speeding. Speeding is probably one of the hot topics for a lot of facility managers. It's a tough nut to crack. Again, it's very difficult to control on private properties. So one of the things that you can do as a traffic calming measure is to install speed bumps. Speed humps are another option. Speed humps are a little bit wider. It allows for a more gradual transition. It doesn't create your car to do an abrupt stop as a speed bump. So it allows you to maintain a better traffic flow, which is really important in large shopping centers, malls, things of that nature. Speed humps are also designed for heavy commercial vehicles. So if you've got a lot of delivery trucks that are going to take deliveries to your tenants, speed humps are quite a good way to go. It's a speed table. You don't see too many of these around. They're primarily in large residential communities. The speed tables are designed to keep the traffic flow to about 20 to 25 miles per hour. You may see these on some military installations. So some facility managers have the issue, they've got the issue of speeding, and they want to install a traffic calming measure, but the problem is that they can't make any penetrations into the concrete because of tension cables and things of that sort. So sometimes they've got to get creative and put use of rumble strips. In this particular situation, the property manager, they took a bunch of white painted markers and they created a rumble strip. Now, a rumble strip may not seem like a very effective means of traffic calming, but although it doesn't provide a physical barrier to necessarily slow down the vehicle, as the cars roll over the rumble strip, the increased levels of noise and vibration to the vehicle should also raise the driver's attention level as well. Visibility. A fairly simple way that site managers can improve safety in the parking lot is just increasing the general visibility throughout the parking for pedestrians and for motorists. You need to make sure that you do weekly, if not daily, walks of the property to make sure that if you notice any bulbs that are burnt out, replace them. If you see any fixtures that have been damaged for whatever reason, just make note of it and make sure it's repaired. And something simple as installing outdoor mirrors to help drivers see around blind spots, for pedestrians to be able to move around the park. Okay, over the past weekend, I was lucky enough to personally experience this parking structure. Here on the left, you've got vehicles from the upper level coming down, and you've got motorists from the lower level coming up. And as they come up, they make the right turn, and they all converge in this area. This particular lot did not have any signage to kind of give the drivers a heads up that traffic is about to merge. And although you're not able to get the vantage point from where I'm standing, there was no convex mirror or anything in place to at least increase the visibility for drivers coming from both directions. A lot of times as property managers, site managers, obviously we're not involved with the design of the building. And although you may have an imperfect situation, there are things you can do to try to make the best of it. Let's talk about some general facility safety as far as protecting the components of your building. A lot of times, again, just due to basic design and limitations of space, you've got components like this AC unit. So basically, you need to protect the campers and motors from driving into it or causing any type of damage. Here, you can utilize something as simple as a parking block. It will stop. And this facility, they were actually notified by the fire marshal that they needed to install bollards to protect the transformer here. So bollards are probably one of the best tools you can use to form a barrier between the components. If you do go the route of installing bollards as a protective measure, you need to make sure that they're highly visible to motorists. So in this case, they're painted a bright safety yellow. And also you need to make sure that it has sufficient height. Usually about 3.5 feet to 4 feet from the grade is usually sufficient. As our buildings get older, a lot of times we're going to have big projects on the property. Whether you're replacing a water chiller, recoating your parking deck, doing a repave, there's going to be projects that we have to work hand in hand with your contractor. So, one of the things, as you take in the bids for the work for your contractor, obviously one of the things that you look at is price and scope of work. One of the things that you need to take a close look at is how is their presence on my property going to affect my daily operations? And if there's going to be a big disruption, if I'm losing parking or if I need to set up a staging area, do they have proper measures in place for traffic control? And so as you work together with your contractor, one of the things that they may utilize is a two-man traffic control crew with two-way radios. The two-man crew will work in tandem to make sure that the motorist on your property has safe ingress and egress throughout the facility. Now, if you've got a project where traffic control is going to be required 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, quite honestly, that could get costly to have two guys managing the whole operation day and night. So work with your contractor. They may be able to utilize portable traffic signals as a traffic control measure. And this way you can deploy this for 24 hours at a time. In this particular situation, this project lasted about 2.5 weeks, and the contractor was able to recoat an entire parking deck without any incident. Can't ask for anything. Yes, management practices. We're just going to go forward with the understanding that the contractors that we hire, they're going to engage in best management practices. They're going to have the proper protective equipment. They're going to properly contain their materials. And that, we just have to go off of that together. We've done the legwork, we've vetted these contractors out, we've carefully scrutinized them, and they're going to do everything that they need to. In my line of thinking, we need to take this a step further. As property managers and site managers, we need to employ best practices, best management practices, or BMPs ourselves. And a big part of that is communication. So as you're working with your contractor, you find out where they're going to be working, confirm the dates, the areas, times. Get that information out to your tenants, whether it be email blasts, posting it on your website, posting notices in the elevator or in the common areas. Make sure you get the word out. If it's feasible, go door to door. Make sure you understand what's happening. Get that line of communication going. If you've got a repave project, we had a situation where we went to Food Lab and said, hey, Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to be repaving the area in front of your road now. You're not going to be able to get deliveries. Tuesday, Wednesday. So you open the line of communication, you talk with the store manager, the store director. You say, okay, well, Tuesday, Wednesday, what if I move my Tuesday deliveries, push it up to Monday, and my Wednesday deliveries, I push it back to Thursday? Okay, that'll work. So by working together, you just eliminated a ton of traffic and a ton of congestion that's going to be on your property. And if you can do that with everyone, it's just going to make life easier for everyone. You guys, as managers and your tenants, you guys all have the same end result that you desire. It's going to be an inconvenience to everyone, but everyone on both sides, they just want to get through it as painlessly as possible. Before I turn the floor over to Patty, who has some great information for you regarding building signage, I just want to talk to you a little bit about signs and something called the UTC. have to admit, when I was working in property management, I had no idea what the MTCD was, or how to apply it, or how. Does anyone know what the MTCD is? The MTCD is the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. MTCD is the national standard for the design, installation, and use of all traffic control devices. A lot of times when we're deciding on signage to put on our property, we're not always thinking about rules and regulations and liability. We try to personalize some of the signs that we put out there. And one of the risks of not following these guidelines is once in a while you'll come up with something like this. Before I understood everything about the MTCD and liability, I thought signs like this were pretty cool. You know, it stands out, you pretty much remember. Only thing is, if you've got a driver and you've got a blue stop sign or a stop sign that's not regulation, if they blow right through the stop sign and they get into an accident, you're liable because you didn't have the proper sign. So, as I tend to forward, just get familiar with the MTCD, just so that you can limit the risk exposure to the property. And with that, I'll turn it over to Patty. She's going to go over the 2010 standards for accessible design. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Patty Matsushige, and I'm so grateful that you're all here so early in the morning and want to spend your time with us. So thank you for attending. I know it wasn't my personality or the donuts that brought you here, so thank you. I want to just give you a little background about myself. I have been in the sign industry since 1986 here in Hawaii. So I know a little bit, I guess a little education on signage. I've gone through 2 different types of seminars regarding ADA signage and how to comply to the 2010 standards, which recovers a lot of materials, design, and all other aspects. And I don't know, you guys know why you talking about 2010 or 2015. Actually in 2013, March 2013, they started enforcing it. Okay, so if you do not comply to their standards, you may have some legal issues. There are people out there that do like to visit properties and kind of give you a little peek and trouble about what's going on in the property. So I'm here to kind of help you out and educate you a little bit. First thing is I want to show you these signs here. I mean, aren't they nice? They got some really nice decorative going on, and they might give your building a nice luxury look, a little bit different, more modern. However, these signs here are not up to code. And I can point out a few reasons why. The sign on the right here, you have raised graphics. The bars on the side, on the top, you have a raised logo. That sign does not comply to the new standards. On the item here, you have 3 different signs on a background. It's not a full background, they're all piecemeal together. Looks really cool, looks really nice. It doesn't meet standards. So that's one of the things that when you start looking at, being in compliance with the standards, Are you using the right design? There's also material. This material here that I'm going to talk about is also being compliant with ADA design. Also talking about safety. So there's going to be kind of an A and B to this here. So when you talk about being compliant to the standards, you talk about color contrast, and you talk about glare and non-glare. And most people don't understand what's glare and non-glare. You have two types of material that we can cover that are non-glare and glare. Your acrylic, your plexiglass, your, they have all kinds of different names, different vendors. Then you have your metals. And your metals can come in your glare and your non-glare. I actually have a couple of samples up here. I'll show you something, hopefully you can see it from where you're at right now. When you talk about color contrast, they have to be an extreme color contrast. One of the signs up there that will show you how extreme is the one on the top left. It is the black on clear or black on white. The bottom right, it is white on blue. So you see the extreme contrast. The upper left there will be a little questionable. It is beige on brown, but there is a good percentage. There's a percentage of contrast that you have to meet too. So those are one of the things, as building owners or managers, it is your responsibility to get educated on this. If you would like, I can send you a webinar PDF page that will educate you on this. I have an insert in here that will show you how serious these regulations are for designing. Right here we talk about letter styles and the importance of it. On the left you have your sans serifs, which that means no tails, no little squiggly lines, you know. It's a basic block letter. There are many different basic block letter styles that you can choose from. So don't think you're limited to Helvetica or Universe. There's a few of them that you can choose from. And then on the right, you have this real pretty guy who has some tails and everything, and he's called Serif. And the one on the right it does not comply to the new standards. And we talk about the letter styles right now. We're not talking about Braille. We're talking about letter styles. Because what happens is, the rule is that anytime you have directional signs, so that means you get out of the elevator lobby, you have someone that is legally blind but they can still see. They're not 100% blind, but they can still see. You have an obligation to have your signs up to code to the letter styles that they can see, because these are directional signs. Right? We're directing them to suite 201 all the way to 211. So keep that in the back of your mind that this is not just Braille. This is directional signs. This is pulled from one of the pages that I took a webinar. This is how detailed they get when they start talking about your letter styles. They give you a percentage on the thickness, you know, they start talking about the stroke and the spacing, so it's very detailed. And you as building owners may think, hey listen, I got a sign company guy, you know, you should know this stuff. Reality of it is, I think you should be educated on it, so you know what you're getting. You know, you can sit there and you can say, hey, I'm getting the right thing. Now, I was in a situation where my designer, just because he didn't like the spacing, where 16 landed on his floors, we changed the spacing, and I sent it off. And my guy knew it was wrong, and he changed the spacing. And there was a little bit of an argument on why you change the spacing. Well, because you're not going to be in compliance if I did what you wanted me to do. So I let him know that, you know, help to educate him on that. So that's how detailed that information is. Remember now, your signage especially your building exterior signage, that's your first impression. So you want to get something that's going to leave a long, good, lasting impression. Right here we have, this sign is in, it's an ADA valet parking. Obviously, it looks very nice. It is very expensive. It's a bronze plaque. So remember that your sign represents your business and what is the message you want to give to your prospective tenants or your visitors and your guests to the building. What I'm going to cover right now is when you look at putting signage in your building, are you using the right process and materials for the application? And most people will say, and I did, I'm one of them that used to say, hey, you told me to do a subsurface acrylic with letters and to put it out by your pool, and within a year, it's warping, it's coming from, it's really funky, you know, or it's outside in the sun. You know, but I did what you told me to do. And I look at it now, it's my responsibility that I've been in this industry long enough to know what is the right process and materials for the application you're going to use. You know, yeah, you're going to come back to me in about a year or two and get a new sign. No, I want you to have a good sign that you'll come back and see me in 5 years. You know, so what it is that have it in the back of your mind and ask the questions, you know, this material, how long will it last? Is it going out in the sun? Do you need to worry about it? So with this here, when I found out the original specs for it, I went back to the designer. I said, hey, listen, it's a luxury condo, and I think we can do it in a better way. How about this? And with the digital world that we have now with digital printing, there's laminates out there that does, it's an anti-graffiti, it's graffiti proof, not, it's more of a graffiti resistant, not graffiti proof, so it's easier to clean. A little bit more costly, but then again, you go back to your maintenance. You know, you're gonna spend a lot of money re-cleaning it or a lot of money getting a new sign. So there's things to think about on, is it the right process that you're using for your signage? This is another one talking about the right process for the application. What was planned out for this building here was to have metal signs put on the column pillar. And I went back to the management and I said, hey, listen, I can do that, not a problem. However, we're going to drill into your walls. Or we're going to use a bandit tape, you know, and make it look very hardish, hardware, industrial stuff as visitors come leave your building. But I have another process, and I have a material. So let's test it out. I'm going to wrap it on your building, we're going to put it up during construction, and let's test it out. I'm proud to say that their parking lot has a lot of signs that look like this. So it's easy maintenance, it was cost effective, and it gives a really good look to the building. We did a full wrap around the building to it. So, and it also allowed to have a message on the other side. So, there's things to think about. Do you have the right process and material for the application that you're going to use? And that's not your responsibility to know, but it's your responsibility to ask those questions to your sign maker. Now, what we're going to talk about here again is maintenance. This type of sign component system here, it's a 4-piece component system. And you have your backer that goes on the wall, and then you have your inset digital graphic or other type of process. Sweet thing about this graphic here that's going to go on the back of your sign is that when you have a vacant spot and you're bringing a prospective tenant there, they're not going to see the back of a blank frame. They're going to see a graphic. So whether you put your company logo on it, or you put, in case of emergency, call, whatever you put on it, that's an idea. And then you have your insert here. with these sign systems here, software comes with it. We give you the software and you have the power to change out your tenants. So you're able to print it if you have a nice laser printer in your company and you print it as your tenant changes. Hopefully not. And then the top piece there, you see the cute little suction cup. It allows you to remove it, change it out yourself or your maintenance guy, and then reinsert it. And then you notice it is Braille and the suite number. So this whole sign system here keeps you in compliance with the ADA regulations. And it's also keeping your maintenance and your costs down. Your initial cost might be a little high for a component system like this. But we're talking about your turnovers and reordering, your cost comes down. Your maintenance, your cost comes down. So those are things to think about. Another thing is that when, oh gosh, I forgot to do this. I'm so sorry. I want to talk about the materials, the non-glare and glare before I get into this, because this one here is really important. So if you can't see it, come and see me afterwards. We're talking about safety, okay? So you got a building that's, 43 floors, okay? And you have a system that when there's a fire alarm going on, right? Light shuts off, sirens going. Now you gotta think about your emergency responders and when they come up the building and they're gonna come up your stairwell. And you start talking about having non-glare and glare material. So I have samples here. I'm not gonna tell you which one is which. They're made of the same process. Okay, so what we do here is I'm going to do one of them, and the firemen, right? They have their light, which is a little bit brighter than mine, on their helmets. And as they go up and they spot on the sign, they need to know what floor they're going to respond to whoever needs help. So as you spot on it, you want to make sure they can see this. Now back there you may not be able to see it, but there's a reflection on one of these signs that glares out and bounces where they can't see the sign. We've done some tests on it. So there is a difference between the glare and the non-glare. And the reason is when you have responders, you want them to get to the right floor and to the right place. We also have the evac maps. Okay, we have them in non-glare and glare. Again, this is for your legally blind that can still see. And they need to know where they're at. And this type of material, using the right material, they're going to be able to read. Okay, with all the lights out and everyone with their flashlight, you want them to be able to read this because you want them to get out of the building safely. So those are the things that you have to think about when you think about right processes, materials, safety. Sorry about that, I totally forgot my toys over here. All right, now a little bit about picking your designers, your architects, or your creative team when it comes to signage. You know, it is really okay. It's kind of like, how many of you are parents here, you know, that have sent your kids to school, right? Preschool, let's take a look at preschool. You might think I'm a little excessive, but when I sent my children to preschool, I went and I checked out preschool. I just didn't pick the closest preschool to my house or to my work. I went and did a little investigation. You know, so that's what you need to do is go ahead and call around, get some quotes, get some references. Don't just get references, but get the name of their projects and visit. Go on a field trip, visit. Hey, listen, they just did that job 3 months ago. You know you're going to see nice clean signs. They did the job 5 years ago, then you know how long this is going to last. So it's like, do your homework, okay, and make a decision based on that. I know we're all here to save $1, you know, but you don't want to keep replacing something every year. You know, you want to make sure you get the right product, the right process that's going to replace later on down the line. You're not going to spend so much on maintenance. And this is, again, in my opinion, it was my responsibility to get educated and to learn, is it the right materials, the right use for you as my customer, and for me to come back and talk to you. Patty, I want you to do yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, let me take a look at where it's going. What are you going to use it for? I don't think that's the right process when you open to this, right? So I took that on to myself to get educated. So again, I think it is your responsibility as business owners, property managers, and building owners to get educated in this area and to know. So you know when you get delivered in your hand that you got the right product. You know, and that you're ordering the right product. So those are just my suggestions. Please don't hold anything negative that I said against GP Roadway Solutions. I'm speaking just based on my experience. And now, we're going to turn over to Travis for questions. No? We're going to have Scott and me stand up here. Does anybody have questions for Scott and myself?
The trend for commercial properties is to go towards digital signs in the lobby, digital signs on every floor, you know, pointing which direction to go. How does that apply to the ADA, their ADA compliance? I mean, many, you know, commercial properties are going that way. How do we meet that? I have a board of directors that wants to put in the new updated technological gadgets, but by what you're presenting to us, those signs don't meet that criteria. So how do you do that? How do we do that and put in the new gadgets in place?
The ADA, there is a governing committee that is looking at ADA digital. They have not come up with anything yet. Okay, so I can give you my card, or you can use your card. I'll email you this packet, and it will give you a couple of websites to go to. And free of charge, you email them, you ask them your questions, and they'll send you the answer. But right now, there is nothing for digital graphics saying what is and is not to code. So now, if you're changing your, you know, one thing is that I want to think about is that you're changing to digital media, television, for directional signage.
It's the interior, of course.
For interior, right, directional signage, as where you're going to point your visitors or the clients to the right units.
Right, so say someone comes into your main lobby, they're presented with a nice big screen with, you know, all the different businesses of your property, and then when they get to every lobby, or every, you know, they come out of the elevator on every floor, they're also presented with another big screen and it tells them where to go.
Is that directional signs, like you have floor directories, right? You're on floor 1, and these are all the tenants.
I mean, the designs that we're looking at so far have little arrows that point you this way or that way, at, you know, at the beginning of the name or at the end of the name of the tenant. So, I mean,
now, is that there's two things, so I want to ask this real clearly. Is it a directional sign that is totally separate when you get out of the lobby and you look on the 3rd floor and you have a list of all the tenants? That does not, you don't have to worry about that. But if you're talking about something that's down the lobby, when you get out of the elevator, you head down the corridor, and then you have a split, those are directional. So is that what you're replacing with media?
no, it's actually both. Like I said, there's going to be, I mean, what we're looking at doing is having arrows at the end of each name of the tenant that point them which way to go. So I mean, I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking at doing. So.
Okay, I can get your card and I'll email you the information.
This is Scott. I've got 3 multi-level parking garages, and I need some non-skid products with hazardous walking.
Is it for, it's for a crosswalk or?
Well, it's just to walk in the garage to get to your car. It's just, there's no pathways or anything, it's just very concrete, they're marked, with the stalls marked off.
Okay, I mean, there are coatings out there, that you can apply to the surface. Like, do you have a non-skid, element to it?
Not at this time, that's what we need to put there. Is there any problem with just making pathways instead of coating the whole surface?
I wouldn't
Walking
necessarily,
surface.
as long as it's not raised or causing a trip hazard, I wouldn't necessarily see an issue with it.
Is there any products that you recommend? No endurance?
Probably, I don't like to kind of just pigeonhole something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or I'd be more than happy to come out and take a look and make a recommendation.
Lady in the back was asking if her signs right now, if they're not in compliant, do you have to make them compliant? And you have grandfathered in. If they were made before March, I want to say March 15, 2013. If the property broke ground on the day prior, so we're talking breaking ground. So that means if it's already up, you're grandfathered in. In Hawaii, if you're gonna spend, and I think the dollar value is $5,000 for renovations, then you need to bring yourself up to code. No, it's $5,000 in renovation.
Doesn't matter the type of renovation?
Pardon?
It doesn't matter the type of renovation? So we're putting in $5,000 for new pipes? Or does that mean $5,000 in re-siding?
I need to reread that, because it just says $5,000 in renovations.
That's
So-
5 times a year.
I would say it's major renovations. We're in a situation right now where a restaurant added, so they did a major renovation, and then there are certain things that did have a cause and effect to their area. So they didn't just change out piping; they changed out the structure. So I think it will fall into the play changing out the structure. But once again, I can also email you that link so it can be your understanding too.
On the $5,000 structural check, you have applied to just that building, or do you have multiple buildings you have to build?
It's each property,
Property here.
period. And one thing about condos, just in case you don't know and you think, I'm a condo, I don't have to comply. They put condos and building offices in the same category as hotels. And that's the federal government. That's where they place you guys.
Do you know if it applies to churches?
Yes. When we talk about ADA regulation, it applies to any place that has public access.
Mr. Scott, you're possible to be next in the parking lot area, if you can, cedar, parking lots, and the roadway.
asking about crack fill material? Yes, basically there's two different types of crack fill material. One is more appropriate for parking lots where you have a lot of high friction areas where vehicles are making their turns, and then one for straight areas.
So in a parking lot area, you gotta make sure that you get the right height. Right?
Correct. Any other questions?
This may have been answered, and maybe I'm just not clear, but if you have an existing project and you haven't done any renovations, but you're changing all the signs, do you have to then comply? You do.
Yes. The key word is you're changing out all your signage.
If there's no other questions, thank you very much, everyone.